Hey everyone, I'm Travis from the Wichita Eagle. I've been a photographer here at the Eagle for 19 years and have shot just about anything you can imagine when it comes to newspaper assignments. It's sports, it's wildlife, it's portraits, it's news, it's everything. But today I'm going to talk to you about a specific type of photography, a little astrophotography, if you will, and specifically about photographing the moon. Now, I've always believed that when it comes to landscape photography in Kansas, our greatest asset is the sky. And once a month, hopefully, without clouds or cover, we get beautiful full moons in Kansas. And I like to go out and photograph these whenever I get the chance. Whenever I shoot moon photographs and whenever I have some success shooting moon photographs, I always get asked a lot of questions about how I was able to make that kind of photograph. And so what I'm hoping to do here today is give you some tips and also tell you some limitations that you're going to be faced with when it comes to getting a great moon picture. The most common question I get is, can I take this moon photo with my iPhone or my smartphone? And if you're hoping that I have some tips in how you can do that better, this is probably not the video to watch. You know, the moon is a great distance away, and an iPhone is really just a pinhole camera type lens with great resolution. So the chances of you getting a great photograph with your phone is not very good. There may be things like attachments for spotting scopes or different lenses like that you might be able to attach your iPhone or your smartphone to get better pictures. I'm not aware of those, but you might be able to have some success going that route. For those of you that are already photo buffs or photo hobbyists, I'm going to talk about some specific gear and other things that you might be able to use to get good photos of the moon. Now, I'll confess, I'm at a little bit of an advantage. Working for a place like the Wichita Eagle, they provide me all of the tools that I could possibly ever want to do any of the type of photography that I do. A lot of this stuff is very expensive, and I'm very fortunate to have access to it, but I understand that many of you are not going to have access to the same kind of gear that I'm using. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get great moon photos with the gear that you have, or with the addition of things that aren't as expensive as you might think. Now, when I shot the photo that you see behind me, I used this setup right here. This is a 400mm lens, and you can see it's quite large, it's heavy, and it's very expensive. Lenses like this can run north of $10,000, and I know that that's not something that just anyone, myself included, can just go out and buy. Even this lens wasn't enough to achieve the photo behind me, and this is the part that I think is really important. I used not one but two of these. This is called a teleconverter or an extender. These things can be had for a couple of $100 at most. What these do is double the length of the lens that you're using. For example, if I put this on this lens, this 400 becomes an 800 at the loss of 2 f-stops. So a 400 f2.8 lens like this one becomes an 800 f5.6. Now, in the case of this photo behind me, I used 2 of these, effectively making a 1600 f11. Now, even if you don't have access to a lens like this, and I realize that many of you won't, you can still take great moon photos with even a much smaller lens like this. Now, this is a 70-200. It's a very common lens among hobbyists and professional photographers alike. Take this lens, add this, you're looking at a 400mm lens, and that is more than adequate to shoot moon photos. You can also find yourself a lens like this. This is a 100-400 push-pull zoom, a little bit slower, but a very economical 400mm lens. Again, you could add a teleconverter. You're going to lose some f-stops, but you can make great photos with any combination of this. Now, just remember, it takes a lot of lens to shoot a close-up photo of the moon. Even I can't really achieve that. When I'm shooting moon photos, I find it important to go out and find something that I can put in that photo with the moon. A windmill, a building, a person, anything, a wildlife. I'm not really interested in a plain picture of the moon. I want to have the moon with something. You don't need a lot of lens to achieve that. One piece of equipment that you don't see here that a lot of people will tell you is critical is a tripod. I'm not a big fan of shooting the moon with a tripod because when I am using a tripod, I find that I'm fidgeting with the tripod more than I'm shooting pictures. Also, the moon is very bright, and when you expose for that, you're going to find that you're going to achieve a pretty fast shutter speed, and the use of a tripod isn't really necessary, at least in my instances. Even though I mentioned earlier that your smartphone is not really going to help you get good moon photographs, that doesn't mean it can't be an important tool. Now, I use an app on my phone that will tell me the time the moon will rise, the location with which it will rise, and will allow me to put a pin down wherever I'm going to be and then tell me from where I'm standing which direction the moon will rise. So for example, if I wanted to line the moon up with the keeper of the plains, I simply go to my map, try out some different locations, and see if the lineup is correct. Here's another example. Davis Hall at Friends University. Now here's a photograph that my coworker, Bo Rader, shot of the moon with Davis Tower a few years ago. So let's see if on the coming moonrise on December 13th, if we can make this work. I'm going to go to my map, put a pin down here, and it looks like from this location along Kellogg, I could line up Davis Hall with the moon. So this tool is critical in helping me get good moon photographs. Now these are just some tips that I use through trial and error of when I go out and shoot pictures of the moon. You all might have tips that you use as well. I would love to hear from you if you do. I hope some of these tips are helpful. The next full moon is December 13th. I know I've scouted out some locations where I'm going to shoot it from. I hope that with some of the things I offer today that you can go out and plan a better moon photograph.